Hey guys, welcome to another session of Reading Between the Lines, or RBTL. This week, another supposedly a filler week until we get the collaboration. Now, I'm going to talk about the collaboration in a bit, and I actually might make a follow-up video. Now, I know that yesterday, once the teasers had been released, like on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot, other content creators started covering it, and it's big news. I talked to some guys on stream and even yesterday on the YouTube premiere, and they were like, hey man, they started talking about it's, of course, it's Guilty Gear. If you don't know that by now, I think you should, by this official news segment, their update content webpage. For sure we're getting Guilty Gear, which is something to talk about, and I think for that reason I'm gonna try to cut this short. We have a drop rate up for Haste Ken. And just to note that they have individual banners. Now, I kind of wish that they did this for Tenebria and Crow. I'm not quite sure why they had to force them together. Maybe they heard complaints and maybe they changed it because of the reaction to that. Because some people wanted one hero or the other, but not both. And if you're let's say you're chasing Tenebria and you got 3 Crows in the process, it's pretty salty. So it's kind of cool that they did this for this one. Again, don't know the reasoning behind it, but at least now you can select. Now, lately I've been, kind of showcasing Ken, did a review on him, so if you want to check him out and, if he's worth pulling for, I would say yes. But in light of the collab, I'm 50-50. Just kind of know that after the collab, we're going to get new heroes again. The pool is going to be more diluted. So, unless Ken comes up again on the Mystic rotation, gets another drop rate in the future, maybe it's really hard to get him, right? If you just think about the probability of actually getting Ken off banner is almost next to impossible. But we got a drop rate up banner here, so it could be your chance to seize him. But again, check out that video, or those videos plural, if you guys haven't, just to see if you want him. I will talk about Haste a bit because I've never actually talked about him. I don't even own Haste myself. But I'll talk about his hero kit in a bit after we look through the news a bit. So during Crow and Tenebria's combined banner, we talked about the side story that they had. And I was saying that, oh man, maybe Haste and Yufien's gonna come. I really want to see Haste side story because I know that in Korea they already had it. So we're getting it, which is exciting for me because I really wanted to see Haste background. So apparently he's like an assassin, but he's also a vampire. It's ooh, that's kind of cool. So I'm looking forward to this. Not much to cover within the actual mode itself. It's going to be like what we're used to. Fuse, Nerf, Sun Badge, that's all good to have. So obviously, everybody's going to grind it. No need to talk about it. One thing interesting, I was just noting this, and this is a nitpicky thing for me, but you can see the member of Psychar there, down there, with that little red squiggly. That's obviously a spelling error, but it would seem that they probably did this in some kind of Microsoft Excel or some Google sheet, but where they had the spell check thing on. For me, it's kind of funny because this is an image, so you can see me just dragging this. So they took a screenshot of it, but I don't know. It's nitpicky for me because it's just there's a spelling error, but it's not really because it's a name. It's just it's Excel, kind of obvious. Okay. I don't know, man. How do you know it has to be Excel? It could be Google, right? Is it the red squigglies giving it away? Terror is saying it's Excel. It's so obvious, but he might be joking to you. But anyways, Arena Revenge feature is added. Now this is kind of making me sweat. There's obviously, you should read this, all right? Reading the lines. Okay, read this entire thing. But basically, doing revenge, you don't always get the full benefits of doing revenge. Revenge is really just to be like, oh yeah, you think you could beat my team? I can show you I could beat your team too. And it's gonna be quite fun, I think, especially in the competitive area of Arena, especially where you're high up. I would say people basically you're not getting the full benefits of it. So look, so you must use one flag, but then regardless of outcome, you won't hold on, you can only match them once. So even if you lose, so that's even worse. So if you revenge and you lose, then the other person can laugh and you'll be like, "Ree!" like super rage, right? So, and also please note, this is important, right? So winning and losing a match does not affect your winning streak. So no consecutive victory bonus will be given for winning a revenge match. That's pretty important to know. So like I said, like people will be doing the revenge for the sake of, like, you know, sake of their pride and their ego, whatever, not shaming their family, you know. Are you versus that team that attacked you, or their defensive team? It was like you have to defend with it. Oh yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I don't think that's noted, isn't it? So Taylor just asked a question. Are you revenging the team, the exact team that attacked you, or are you revenging their defense team? Oh, that's a really important thing to know. He says it would suck if you had to defend against a Assyria Tamarine comp, because most of you guys know that Assyria Tamarine comps are good one way, but not the other way. So in the sense that offensively you get full benefit because you get full control, but defensively Assyria will always do the S3 first, and so Tamarine will always be on her regular cooldown until the second turn. So usually people would just wipe out Assyria, and then it's kind of game over. But yes, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Yes, Siren 101 says yes, if you lose, the other guy literally just slaps you and says stay down. Exactly. So it's gonna be an interesting one. I was during the announcement of the revenge feature, I was already kind of sweating. I'm like, oh man, what are they doing? But it is really showing you the competitive nature of this game. So I think people are gonna really use it. They're just gonna be like, I don't care about my winning streak. I want to kick this guy's butt. Right? That's gonna be the way it is. And I know sometimes for me, like if I see some guy like maybe refresh his list and he got lucky and he beat me like 3 times, and I see, oh man, that's a team I can knock out, and I know this guy, I can knock out his defense team, but like why is he not coming up on my list, man? I wanna show him I can beat him. I can't do it, but now you can, right? So I might be using this revenge feature, but it would be embarrassing. It will be embarrassing, and trust me, it will hurt a lot. Let's say if you revenge and they have a Cartuja on their team. A Cartuja is one of the most annoying defense team heroes to go up against, because that RNG can really screw you. Like sometimes you can be like using an Araminta team. Like I've had Araminta teams attack my defense team, and my defense team isn't good whatsoever. Araminta teams should be flooring it all the time. But I have people like come back, and I'm assuming what's happening is my A Cartuja caused Araminta to miss her S3, and therefore my Kayron wipes the entire team. And my Kayron sucks. So A Cartuja is super annoying. So imagine you like press the revenge button and you go back to you fight an A Cartuja team, and you know like you can usually take it on if A Cartuja doesn't have this lucky RNG thing, but sometimes A Cartuja's 15% evasion AoE seems like a 75 or 100%. I swear. I talked to Terry about this, and I'm like complaining, and I'm like, what the frick? Tara's laughing at me. He's like, your Kayron wiped the team. Fake news. Feels bad, man. But yes, it's A Cartuja is one of the worst things to deal with in arena. It's honestly so salty to fight him sometimes. Like no matter how well he's geared or how badly he's geared, he can still make the other team win. It sucks. Anyways, so revenge battle reset time daily at 10 euros. Oh, I see. So you can't go back and revenge, right? Okay, so yeah, it says here after revenging more than 3 times with the same opponent. Interesting. So you won't even get conquest win or victory points. So you won't even rank up if you revenge 3 or more times. I know I have seen I'll give a shout out to like Aline. So Aline has shown like there's this guy that's attacked him. I think Aline, you're in like what, Challenger 3 right now? Challenger 3? You correct me if I'm wrong. I'll probably read the stream chat here just to correct it. But there's this guy, like he honestly like he just like refreshes flags just to see if he could beat Aline's team. And the thing is, he keeps going with the same team, and he kind of like swaps out like one hero or another. So I know that some people will probably still hit that revenge button. Like it doesn't even matter if they don't get victory points or conquest points anymore. But at that point, you know, you if you're a reasonable player, you should just be like, call it quits, you know, come back after your head's cooled off, because you know victory points and conquest points eventually mean it's costing you something, right? Like victory points can cost you sky stones at the end of the week, can cost you glory crest at the end of the week. So it's like, but I know that there's gonna be some people doing the revenge thing. So yeah, Alina says Challenger 3. Yeah, so I mean there are some people that are just that stubborn, but at the same time it's like maybe they're doing it for research, you know, for science. Not quite sure. But you know, if you're hitting a brick wall, you know, you gotta come in with like a jackhammer instead of a hammer, you know. So, but yeah, some people will be stubborn and think, no man, this team is my perfect cleave team that I've got, you know. I gotta keep using it, and they keep trying, but that doesn't work. Anyways, I want to talk a bit about there was something I wanted to do this. Oh yeah, okay. So this keep this in mind. So Powder of Knowledge refresh is upcoming, guys. So if you haven't purchased, like, this batch is one of like probably the best ones in my opinion. Sigar's Scythe, was it Sigar's? No, Elber's Ritual Sword. I think Elber's Ritual Sword and Arnel are both in this one with Celestine. And I think there's Aureus in it too. So I mean, don't miss out on this. I don't think that the next one, judging by the ones that have already come in rotation and the ones that are left, the next ones probably won't be too cool. So yeah, just keep that in mind. It is upcoming. Yeah, and then so the very last thing is Guilty Gear. All right, the very last thing I want to touch upon is Guilty Gear. I grew up playing this game, so I'm gonna give you just a slight history on. I know that some people are like salty about this collab for some reason. Probably because they never played Guilty Gear or never heard of it. I know that a lot of guys in my community never even heard of Guilty Gear, but you know, they're doing their research and whatnot, which is cool. They're looking into the lore, looking into the characters, and I think that's cool, man. That's really what a collab should do. And honestly, this game is awesome. This game is super awesome. I came from a background of playing BlazBlue, so with the same studio that made, or at least the same publisher that made both games, and the similarities in the fighting mechanics, the character designs, even like the archetypes of the heroes or the characters. And I eventually went backward into playing Guilty Gear, and I had a really good time. And all of these heroes are memorable to me, but I hate Ino, the witch with the red hat. I just hate her design. I think she looks really stupid. I've always hated her. I'm hoping that out of these, because apparently we might get one free hero, maybe even 2 free heroes. Hopefully it's 2, but I think it's 1. You know, people are making jokes that the free hero is probably gonna be Soul Bad Guy. But I really think it might be Ino. I hope it's Ino because I really don't like her. But Dizzy, Baiken, and Soul Bad Guy, they're all really cool. Anyways, hopefully you guys will check it out. And apparently we're gonna get a prologue video after the maintenance. So I was hoping that, you know, for this RBTL, I was able to like view this and kind of like, you know, comment on it with you guys. But I think I might save that for tomorrow. So after the maintenance done, tomorrow when I make a video, I might make a follow-up, just my thoughts on Guilty Gear. I know there's a lot of speculation and rumors on, like, you know, what hero classes, what elements are they online right now. I'm not gonna dive into that, especially on this video here. Needless to say, I'm very excited. I'm very hyped about the collab. Most of the guys on my in my community have actually told me, like, well, I've told them rather, that, you know, I wasn't hyped about a collab. I kept on thinking like collabs are gonna wreck their reputation, because I came from a game where collabs were not really doing the game justice. But this game, like, I never even thought about Guilty Gear. But once I saw the news and the teaser, I was like, wow, it's amazing that they selected a really good candidate. Because if you go online, go to YouTube, watch some clips of Guilty Gear, the way they animate is very, very similar to how Epic 7 does it. Like elongating like the frames to make things like look more dramatic. So like, say that you have a sword slice or whatnot, you can pause it in between and you can see a frame and the sword looks like a big blob. You know what I'm talking about? So for people who know like animation, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, so it's very similar style. Even the characters, you know, I don't even know if this artwork is actually done by this Smilegate artist. I don't think so, but if it is, it looks so similar. You can barely tell. So I can't wait for it. I really can't wait for this. So anyways, that's the thoughts here on the news segment, and I'm gonna quickly jump into Haste a bit, hit his kit. So give me 1 second here. So I think, again, like I said, for the banners coming up, I don't think people are going to be pulling for Ken and Haste. Maybe for Ken, maybe Haste if you really like the character. But my recommendation is, if you're new, even if you're a mid-tier player, I would say don't go for Haste for sure. Maybe go for Ken, maybe just some, but save mostly for the collab. All right. So for Haste, again, like I said, I don't own him. You can check out his stats here. Pretty decent speed. If you get him a speed set with speed boot, he gets up to 190. That's without any substats. 190 speed. That's pretty fast for a thief if you want him to go first. For a quick cleave team, he kind of works. He's not the best cleaver, but he's not bad. I would say Says is most likely a better cleaver if you have a proper setup for his S3. And Vildred, of course, even better. But if you do decide on using Haste, I think his areas would probably be like Golem. He has in his kit some off healing. Golem up to Golem 11, he's still good. So for hunts, he might be good with the AOE and single target nuke. For PvP and GVG in some scenarios, I think in defense teams he really struggles. But in offense teams, if you can control the match, control the match, he's as good as almost any AOE damage dealer, because he brings in bleed. If you take a look at the attack base stat, 1086 is 1089 is not the best, it's not the highest. Generally, because he's an AOE damage dealer, generally you should be looking at a thief about 1100, so about a 100 difference. I think Vildred is about 1100, Says is about 1100 as well, Key stays at 1200. Either way, his HP is not actually bad. He's actually not bad. His HP is actually not bad. 5380 is actually not terrible for a thief. I think he has like one of the highest ones. And like I said, the speed is good. He has a 27% innate critical hit chance, so you could take advantage of that as well. Taking a look at his kit here, he does bleed and up to a 75% AOE, up to a 3, so he can afflict it 3 times. So that means after the 75% chance to roll it, if you do roll it, you're rolling the effectiveness on your haste versus the effect resistance on them up to 3 times. So each time that bleed is procced, it has to be re-rolled. So on average, if you're looking at, let's say you're hanging around Challenger 5, the difficulty right now, if you're hanging around Challenger 5, you might get about 2 to 3 bleeds on average, maybe sometimes 1, if they don't have immunity. So it's not that bad. And so the bleeding does is a damage over time status debuff that is based on your caster's attack, so even including buffs. So after buffs, if you get his attack really high, the bleed damage is going to do a lot of damage. So it's really good that way. Just going to quickly read the mods here. For at least the S3, it's AOE, it's a 1x mod, not the lowest for sure, so it's definitely not terrible. You can see that you can get a total of a 30% damage if you max skill enhance it, but it's not, I don't know if it's really worth it, depending again how you use them. If you're doing it for an AOE cleave team in the arena, like you have a defense breaker set up before him, like Tenebria or let's say Bologna AOE, he will do a lot of damage. I mean, it's not terrible at all. And even if they don't die, they have the bleed on them if you can land the bleed. And then on the next turn, by the turn they go, they'll get bleed first and then actually do their attack. And by then they could die. I've seen bleed easily do like 1,000 to 2,000 damage each. And I'm not quite sure, I forgot, Terror used to run haste in PvP. And I think he got up to like 3,000 per bleed. Actually, it's per bleed, so it can be like very deadly. If you think about it, three bleeds and you do 1,000 each, that's pretty low. That's 3,000 damage right there. So that's after your cleave. So if they can even survive that long. Oh yeah, Aline wanted to remind me. Yeah, so there's another aspect to the S3 here. So yeah, see when you see there's less than 3 enemies, damage dealt is increased with fewer enemies. So by 2 targets, it's 200% damage, and by if they're left alone, it's 250% damage. So 2 times damage and then 2.5 times damage. That's actually important to know. So for GVG, like I said, for GVG, it can actually be pretty decent if you're using him at offensive. But again, like I said, I think on a defensive team, he's very easily exploitable because he's a thief, so he was most likely quite squishy. He probably won't be built with the fastest speed in order to get the most damage. But if he's really fast, his damage is too low. So it's kind of a bit hard to use him on a defense team. His S2 is a 1.5 time, but it's a soul burnable. It only requires 10 souls, but it increases damage dealt. So it gets up to a 2 times mod if you do soul burn it. Now there's multiple effects on this. This is pretty cool. Unhealable, of course, you can make a target unhealable there. A vampiric touch for 2 turns. It absorbs some of the target's health when attacking. So when you have this debuff on, even if Haste is dead, so it's not like a provoke or anything. So when Haste is dead, this debuff is still on the person it's landed on. So the rest of your team can hit the guy that's debuffed with vampiric touch and get back HP, which is kind of nice. It also does recover the health of all allies proportional to the damage dealt. If you do skill enhance it, you can see up there 15% healing, up to 30% healing. So I think it's hold on, let's see. It starts at, I think, if it's a 9% damage as healing, but if their target is bleeding, it gets up to a 18%. So because you can see if target is bleeding, recovery increases by 50%. So 50% of the 9%, so up to 18%. Now I've heard people telling me that the 15% healing is not additive, it's multiplicative. So it's 30% on top of your 9% base. I believe that's how it works. So what's that? 30% of 9% base is another 3, so 12% is that? So 12%, assuming my math is right, 12%, if they are bleeding, is another 50%. So you get up to what? 24%? I'm not quite sure if my calculation is right. I might be completely wrong of how the numbers work in that sense. But again, not bad. And then his S1 has a chance of inflicting bleed as well. So if you are running, let's say Wyvern 10, Haste and Surin used to be like really good for Wyvern 10, because for Wyvern 10, you kind of had to like give them two or more debuffs in order for him to limit his attack to only 1 attack per hit. And the Surin can extend bleed. So like if you mix Haste and Surin, and let's say you throw in Clarissa, which is extra bleed, you can get a ton of bleed on Wyvern. And of course, like I said, it's damage over time based on your attack. So that's how I beat my Wyvern 10 back in the day. Without Haste, I just used Surin. But with Haste in it, it's just really incredible. You can see that you can get up to a 50% chance here for the S1. So 50% chance to do bleeding for 2 turns. So again, Haste is by no means a bad hero, but if you are using him, let's say for like very end game heavy content, so I don't even think he can fit anywhere in Abyss now, especially past 80. Some hunts he will struggle in. He won't be really used in Wyvern 11, but Golem 11 it will work. I think it's totally fine. Maybe even as the Namek 11, as the Manic, that's how you pronounce it. It might work for an AoE, but he doesn't get his AoE often enough. 5 turns, quite a bit of a stretch, and I don't think he really adds too much to that fight. So anyways, that's my thoughts on it. And just really last thing, the damage mod for the S1 is also a 1 times mod. So anyway, not too bad, but overall I think he's really just a debuffer over anything, and a little off healer for the rest of your team. So to have him for farming is just incredible. I kind of wish I had him like really early on in game to really enjoy him when I'm farming him. I know that if I do, let's say, pull haste off banner, I will not be pulling on him. That's one thing. If I do pull haste off banner, I will most likely not. He would be benched. That's the kind of sad part for me, because I really like his design, and you know, I thought he was really cool really early on. But anyways, that's my thoughts for this one, so I'm gonna end that there. So if I do a follow-up video, I'll talk a bit more on guilty gear. If not, that's it for this one. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys have Discord, check it out. Subscribe to YouTube if you haven't, and I will see you guys on the next RBTL.